Hey, what's going on YouTube? What's happening? CC Talk here again, doing another Days by Lives video over, kind of like recapping over the last like 2.5, 3 weeks of Ron Carlivati's tenure going into days. And I must say, he, Sherry Anderson, Ryan Kwan have done already. I mean, it's still not perfect yet, but, well, no soap is going to be perfect, but you know, they are cleaning up a lot of the imperfections left behind by Dina Higley, and they're just doing a really good job at, getting me back into the groove of liking the show again. I mean, it's just, but I must say, as much as I've never been a big fan of Dina Higley's writing, she didn't leave the show so terrible like she did the second time around when she wrote. Was it the second time around? I think it was the second time around when she had wrote the show as a head back in like 2010 to about 2011. She didn't, leave it in such a wreck like she did that time. Maybe her benefit was, she did have Josh Griffith, who definitely fucked the show up when she went on her little, medical sabbatical or whatever she was doing. And also she had the co-head in Ryan Kwan at the time, who was like, even though they probably, they more than likely didn't mesh well, he didn't let her get too out of control or too insane or too crazy, even though her stories were just like boring as all get out. But enough talking about Dina Higley. I'm just going to talk about the 3 stories that, has gotten better or I am feeling right now on the show. And then I'll talk about probably like my not so, I'll take that back, MEH storyline. And I'll talk about that shortly. But let's go ahead and get into it. So, the first story I want to hit up is, of course, Abby, Chad, and Gabby. I have actually really liked how Ron has written the triangle the last 2.5 weeks. He's actually cleaned up a lot of the superfluous within that. And he's just, I like how he's actually making Abigail a heroine. And I do believe that's probably Sherry getting into his ear and telling him, you need to try to make this girl a heroine. Because we all know when Kate Mancy played Abigail, Kate Mancy's version of Abigail was more of a gray character. Marcy Miller's version, her version of Abigail is more heroine-like. And when Abigail threw herself at that car to save Chad from getting hit after Chad and Abigail got into it about her leaving town to be in the witness protection with Dario, and and he was saying, well, I hope you die and you never come back. And then here she is, she gets hit, and he literally has to like deal with what he had said, and he has to recognize that this girl truly loves him. Like, this girl really does love his ass. So much so, she put the S on her chest, and she was like, I'm gonna protect him. The scenes that they've been having in the church chapel, oh my god, like Eric and Jennifer praying together, that was so, like, and usually with Eric, I don't care for this, this whole, he's a priest thing, because I just think Eric is just too hot to be sitting up here being a fucking priest. But that was the one time, I think, out of all times, of him being a priest, I was just so in love with him, being there for Jennifer, knowing that her baby girl was in, trying to make it through surgery and fight for her life. And then you had Chad, like, reeling over it and, and trying to contemplate why this woman, literally put her life on the line after he said all of those unspeakable things to her. And then you got Andre telling Chad about why she did it, and him possibly having to kill Deimos, and there's a photo out there. And then you got Gabby. Gabby comes in, and she has to come to grips with the fact that even though she loves Chad, and she can't compete with that. She can't compete with a chick who threw herself at the mercy of a car and almost, took her own fucking life in order to save, Chad. I mean, and, Camila Barris, I mean, whew, she needs to be definitely the leading lady of that late 20, early 30 set, in that group, because she could definitely be Days' version to a Brenda Barrett. If y'all remember how Brenda Barrett was on General Hospital back in the 90s, how she had all the men coming to her yard, and she had chemistry with almost every guy on the show. And I mean, that was, and that's hard, I mean, my goodness. I mean, yeah, Brenda and Sonny will always be one of my favorite, super couples of all time. But I remember vividly, before I started liking Sonny and Brenda, she had chemistry with fucking, Ricky Martin's character and Antonio Sabato Jr. She even had chemistry with Steve Burton's Jason. I mean, that's what Days needs to be doing with Camila Barris's Gabby. Because I think, yeah, there are a lot of people that wants her back with JJ. But to me, like I said, Gabby is so sexy and hot. She can be bounced around from, and I'm not talking about in a hoish way, I'm talking about she could be literally bounced around from, JJ, Chad, gosh, Eli. I still want some Eli and, and Gabby. I don't care what anybody say, because I think they would be sexy as fuck too. And then she could even, if she wants to, have some higher stakes, maybe she could also, try to, have some fun with Eric. Or she could probably even try to have some fun with Brady. I mean, Camila Barris just has that sex appeal that I think that Days has been lacking on the show. I mean, for years it's been Ari Zucker who has held that mantle. Go ahead and pass that torch on to Camila Barris's Gabby, because there's something there, people. There's something there, and they need to try to tap into that. But I like I said, I've been liking that whole emotional angle, the emotional angles between Chad and Abigail a lot. And I just feel for the both of them. And, and this is coming from somebody who was never a big Chad and Abigail fan. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I was never a big Chad and Abigail fan. I was always in the minority. I liked Chad and Gabby more, I like Chad and Gabby more because I just, I like the fantasy, and, I just thought that they were sex on a stick, even when, Camila Barris had both Casey, Dedricks, and now, Billy Flynn. Another triangle that has shocked the shit out of me, and I thought I would never like, especially with Dita Higley writing it, because you just knew how predictable her writing would be and become. But now under Ron, I think this triangle has so much potential, and it finally has some legs to it in terms of story. So Brady, Nicole, and Eric, for better or for worse, that triangle has hot, soapy goodness written all over it. You got Brady, he's all worried Nicole is going to start having feelings for Eric again, because, Eric and Nicole got that long history, and Nicole is genuinely forgiven Eric for killing Daniel. Now, it hasn't stopped her from saying Daniel's name every third sentence, but she has slowly but surely have forgiven him, especially now after reading his letters that he wrote for her in prison that he and Brady is actually tapping into his inner Kyriakis now, because now he's turning into this like jealous, insecure. He's back off of the wagon. He's drinking again. He was actually talking to Lucas about it. They were both at the bar Friday, and they were both crying in each other's liquor, talking about the different women that have came in and out of their lives and how, you know, they've all just either did them wrong or they just feel like losers in love because they constantly keep being played for. But you know, I love the fact that Nicole is sneaking around with Eric and she's not telling Brady anything, and it's just gonna boil over, because if you look at the promo that has came out for the week of August 14th, there's gonna be a hot scene between Eric and Nicole coming up. And it also said in the spoilers for Friday's episode that Nicole and Brady are gonna have a huge confrontation. I guess because he's been following her around and he's been insecure and jealous, and that's just going to come to a head again. And I'm just hoping Nicole gets sick and tired of it, and she goes over to Eric's place and she gives him that soapy gaze when he opens the door, and she just tears his face off and starts kissing him, and they take it to the bedroom. Because I'm sorry, I've always loved me some Eric and Nicole, even when she treats him like garbage most of the time. I just always love that whole, you know, aspect of their relationship. Like, she knows she's the girl from the wrong side of the tracks and she shouldn't be with this good guy, but she keeps doing, you know, him dirty, and, you know, having these unspeakable things like constantly happen between the both of them. But they just constantly keep coming back to each other in this hot and sexy way. So I'm hoping Brady says something so left field that Nicole just walks out of the house and says, okay, motherfucker, that's how you feel? I'm gonna go over here and fuck your stepbrother. How about that? That would be some hell of a cliffhanger, but that's how I want it. That doesn't mean Ron has wrote it or I know anything. But that would just be some hot, soapy stuff. Oh! So yeah, I'm enjoying that storyline thus far. It's got legs, finally, and like I said, it's classic storytelling between two brothers that have equal chemistry with this woman, and yeah. But for me, I've never been a big Brady and Nicole fan. Maybe it's because, when I was growing up, I was a big Brady and Chloe fan. You know, Nicole just made me mad during that time period because I just couldn't stand it. I was just so mad because, like I said, I was a big Brady and Chloe fan, and that just worked my nerve. But it was still a good story. Don't get it twisted, and I think Erin Zucker had me, believing that she was that truly good interloper that could fuck up a relationship if she wanted to. So, but yeah, but I like when Brady and Nicole are friends with benefits. Like, for instance, like, they're friends and they can be each other's rock, and maybe they can hit the sheets every once in a while, especially when their significant others do them dirty, or they're just getting bored in their relationships and they're like, yeah, I'm bored, can we just screw? And then I've never been a big fan of them being in a relationship, like romantic relationship. I've always liked them as like that friends with benefits kind of thing. But that's just me. Alright. And the last storyline that has surely starting to like warm up to is the Steve, Kayla, Trip, Joey story. You couldn't make me like this story for almost a whole year. Especially when they brought Trip into the picture, early this year. You couldn't make me like this story. I was like, Lord have mercy. Like, I couldn't. And it's it has drug on for well over a year and a half, considering, Joey killed, Ava back in January or February of last year. So this story has just drug on. But now, within just 2.5 weeks, I have really been liking this story. Yes, I have liked a Steve and Kayla story. Now, mind you, I'm going to keep it real like Holyfield. I don't have the same emotional attachment to Steve and Kayla like many of the fans who have been watching since the 80s and the early 90s. And I understand when they have fan events, Mary Beth Evans, Stephen Nichols, and people want to see Steve and Kayla and all this other stuff. They got lines wrapped around the corner like people who wants a new iPhone. I get it. But for me, I never had that emotional connection. The reason why I've always loved Bo and Hope, at least when I was growing up, and I first started watching the show back in like 96, 97 season, was because they and John and Marlena at the time were pretty much the only super couples on that show during that time period. So for me, watching Steve and Kayla, on again, off again the last 10 years, and having Dina Higley write for them, for that couple, their stories either have been boring or they've just been off the rails fucking crazy. And I mean, kudos to the actors, Mary Beth and Steven for making, a pile of shit look good sometimes, but I just never really cared for their stories the last 10 years. But now they have a writer in Ron Carlivati and Sherry Anderson, who did used to write for them back in the 80s and in the early 90s, understands this couple, and they get that couple. It's like, yeah, I am feeling this. The fact that, they had the whole epic scenes, just a couple of weeks ago, Trip, or scalp with Kayla's throat, and he was about to, and Steve rushed up in there and tried to stop him, but then Joey had to come in and try to stop him, and it revealed the fact that he did kill his mama. And I'm just like, that's probably the one thing that pisses me off about this story, is that, why the fuck does Trip care so much about Ava? That bitch was crazy for one, and two, he didn't even know her. He didn't fucking know her. But whatever, it's a soap. You gotta suspend your disbelief. I get it, but still, I can't with Trip and this whole, he killed my mom. You didn't know her. You shared a womb with her for 9 months, but you didn't fucking know her. But anyhow, and then after that whole aftermath was over, you get Wednesday's episode. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday's episode. You get Steve and Kayla going at it like a Tyler Perry movie, going back and forth. Steve is telling Kayla, our son Joey needs to atone for his sins. He's never gonna move on, with his life if he doesn't go to prison. And Mary Beth Evans, she pulled it out of her ass, girl, and she was all like, not my son. My son won't make it through prison. You just don't understand. This wouldn't have happened if you didn't go look for him. This would not happen. Our family would be falling apart. I mean, Mary Beth Evans was killing them scenes. Like, Stephen Nichols, he was doing his thing, but Mary Beth Evans, she was giving me everything. She was giving me those classic soap tears. Now, the conflict with their children is giving Steve and Kayla a new lifeline on this show. So that's great. Now, on to my MEH meh storyline of the show. Alright, look, I'm not the biggest fan of doppelganger stories. Now, I might have liked doppelganger stories on soaps when I was 12, when I first started watching Days, sure, and I was seeing, Christian, she had like 8 doppelgangers running around Salem. So over these doppelganger stories in daytime, like, these type of stories don't win people over anymore. It's a tired soap trope. And I really just wish that soap writers can just not do them any fucking more. They don't help ratings. They don't make them, but I will say, because I am I have been a fan of Days of Our Lives for well over like 20 something years. And I do have like a liking for these two doppelgangers, Bonnie and Hattie. I don't completely hate the story. My biggest concern is that it's going to drag on for 6 months. And these people in this town is going to be so stupid. They're going to fall for every minute of it. And it's like, I just pray it's not a 6 month story. I just pray. Now, granted, yes, it's Ron Carlivati. He tends to do doppelganger stories. He did it at One Life to Live. He did it on General Hospital. But I just don't need this dragging out more than like 3 or 4 months, because I know if it goes past 3 months, the audience is going to get so frustrated with it, and that might cause a decline a bit in the ratings, and Days can ill afford any more declines in the ratings, okay? Especially with the returns they're going to be bringing back with, Sammy and, Allison Sweeney and Eileen Davidson, Larissa Rail is coming back, y'all, and Tyler Christopher is coming on to Days, and Days don't need any more slippages in the ratings as they are right now. I saw those ratings for last week. Not looking good. It's not looking good, but a spoiler for the doppelganger story, not this week, but the following week, that Bonnie and Lucas are gonna make love. Now, when these doppelgangers do this stuff, the audience always questions, is it rape or not? Because you're not screwing the real person. You're screwing a doppelganger. That's not that's somebody who's tricking you, into sex. And that could be viewed as rape. So maybe this is the story that Ron Carlivati is alluding to when he talked about it in his Soap Opera Digest interview with Lucas, because he said he was going to give Lucas a story. So I wonder what's going to happen once that happens between Bonnie and Lucas, and then Lucas finds out that the whole time he's been, screwing Bonnie. Will that drive him more to drink? And I mean, you can get some really good emotional stuff out of that, because we saw that, for anybody who watches the other soaps, we saw that with Gina Tognoni as Phyllis, and she won a fucking Emmy off of that stuff last year. So it's very possible that that's where Ron Carlivati is about to take Lucas, in this semi-dark place. And yeah, but I do like the chemistry between Deidre Hall and Judy Evans with this whole doppelganger. So now that stuff is fun. Like Friday's episode was fun when they were up in the hotel room and they were drinking they vodka and whatever, and they were sitting up there watching porn like they were watching adult fucking entertainment. That shit was funny as fuck. Again, I'm mad with the story. Like I said, I don't want it to drag on forever. And I am scared because people are already complaining, on certain forums and other soap sites that I go to are already complaining about doppelganger, really? Like, not one, but two? Like, is this... But again, I do think that in a way, I think what Ron was inject some fun energy into the show, and also give John and Marlena particularly a storyline, and that's totally fine. I mean, it is what it is, but that I think is what they were trying to do in general. But yeah, that has been my experience watching Days the last 3 weeks or so. I've really liked it. Like I said, y'all, if y'all is not watching Days by Light, start watching now. Please start watching now. I know what some of y'all are trying to do is hold off until y'all see Allison Sweeney and Eileen Davidson. But other than that has been Days for me. I've been liking it very much. I have been enjoying a lot of the soapy elements coming slowly but surely coming back into the show, and it's getting good again. And I think by the end of the year, Days is gonna be one of the best damn soaps of the 4 soaps going. But we'll see. Anyhow, feel free to rate, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Tell me what stories you have been liking on the show, what you have not been liking. And I'm out. Bye.